Welcome to We Learn Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 13th of the subject India, earliest times to the 8th century AD, and the chapter is Changes in the Later Vedic Phase. Topics to be covered are introduction, sources, iron technology and its impact, the nature of the economy, polity and society, and religion. Introduction. The period which you are going to study now extends roughly from 1000 BC to 600 BC. By this period, some of Vedic tribes had moved from the Sapta Sindhu region to the upper Ganga valley and other adjacent regions. During the period of this shift, a number of changes in their social, political, economic, and religious structure took place. So, during when they were shifting, when the Vedic tribes were shifting, lot of changes happened in their social, political, economic, and religious structure. Sources. We have literary sources. The Samved Samhita is a book of prayers and chants which are from the Rig Veda, modified and set to tune for the explicit purpose of singing them during rituals. The Yajur Veda elaborates the rituals which accompany the recitation of hymns. The rituals and the hymns in this Samahita document the social and political milieu of this period. The Arthar Veda contains the folk tradition of this period and represents popular religion. So the Yajur Veda, that has the elaboration on the rituals, the recitation of hymns, as well as in the Athar Ved, it has the folk tradition of this period and the popular religion. And the Sam Veda has a book of prayers, chants, and which is modified from the Rig Veda and set to the tune for the purpose of singing during rituals. Archaeological sources. The literary sources repeatedly refer to the areas of western UP, Haryana, and Rajasthan. The period assigned to the later Vedic phases 1000 BC to 600 BC. Many communities and cultural groups are mentioned in the text. Thus, particular pottery forms cannot be identified with some tribe or group. However, in the same geographical region, some agricultural communities flourished in roughly the same time bracket. These communities used a particular kind of pottery called the PGW. So, in the same geographical region, some agricultural communities, they flourished roughly in that same time bracket, and these communities are known as PGW. And during that particular time period, many communities and cultural groups are also mentioned in the texts. Iron technology and its impact. The evidence of the later Vedic period suggests a transition from a pastoral society to a sedentary agrarian society. It was earlier suggested that the socketed axes made of iron were extensively used to clear the forests and the Gangetic Doab for permanent cultivation. It was also believed that iron-tipped ploughshares and hoes increased the efficiency of the agricultural implements, which furthered agricultural activities. This also helped in getting new modes of equipments which helped in the agricultural efficiency. For example, the ploughshares and the hoes were increased so that the agricultural efficiency would be increased. The scholars believe that the knowledge of iron technology was an important factor for the development of agrarian economy. So for the development of agricultural or the agrarian economy, the knowledge of the technology which was used in farming, in planting, and also in agriculture, the technology, the modes of equipment, the modern modes of equipment which were used, for that the knowledge of that was a must. The nature of the economy. The growth of agriculture in the later Vedic period was made possible by the availability of vast tracts of fertile alluvial lands of the Ganga Yamuna Doab and the Middle Ganga Valley, an area which was slowly settled through the first millennium BC. However, the later Vedic texts reflect the continued importance of pastoralism. Both archaeological and literary sources document the introduction of rice as the staple diet of the people. So during that particular time, rice was the staple diet of the people. It was a diet which people used to have. The PGW and Banas culture yield charred grains of rice from the excavated sites. Importance of pastoralism declines. Pastoralism was no longer the main subsistence activity of the people as it was in the early Vedic period. Pastoralism was an activity which was the main subsistence activity of the people in the early Vedic period, but after that it moved to mixed farming and agrarian economy. Mixed farming, which included cultivation and herding, was the occupational norm of this period. Agricultural activities in this phase were not labor intensive. So, mixed farming was a norm which included cultivation as well as the herding. That was the occupational norm of this period. People mostly involved themselves in mixed farming, herding, as well as cultivation. And agricultural activities in this phase, they were not labor intensive, they were more based upon the machinery and they were more based upon the equipments which were used there. The sites from where rice remains are found in the excavations are located on the elevated areas of the dome. Changes in the functions of the rituals. In the early Vedic society, rituals were performed to bring about the welfare of the entire tribe. So, in the early Vedic society, rituals were performed for bringing the welfare of the people. Gods were worshipped for ensuring victory over other tribes, granting cattle and sons. It was also an occasion for the chiefs to distribute wealth. In the later Vedic society, the function of the rituals underwent a subtle change. Rituals became much more complicated, which could continue for years, thus, only the rich could perform them. So, rituals became complicated and also they underwent a subtle change, which only the rich people were able to perform them. And in that, gods were worshipped for giving victory and for granting cattle and sons. Emerging importance of land. Land was cultivated through family labor and the help of domestic servants and slaves. In this period, initially land was owned by the clan or the viz. When clan ownership gradually changed to family ownership, the Grihpati or householder became a man of wealth. The Vaisyas were the producing class in the society and they became the source of wealth and subsistence for the Kshatriyas and the Brahmins who did not actively participate in food production. So the Vaisyas, they were the producing class in the society and they became the source of wealth and subsistence for the Kshatriyas and the Brahmins, but they did not actively participate in the food production. Polity and society. The transition from a predominantly pastoral to a mixed farming economy had a great impact on the character of the later Vedic society and polity. The main trends of changes were tribal identity of the early Vedic society gradually gave way to territorial identity and consequently the nature of chiefship changed. The social structure, which was based on relations within a clan and was largely egalitarian in the early Vedic period, became much more complex. This type of society is marked by inequality. So it was not egalitarian, it was more based on inequality. Polity. Jana was used in the sense of people or tribe in the Rigvedic period, but now the concept of Janpada emerged. Janpada meant the area where the tribe settled. The word Rashtra was also used for the first time in the later Vedic texts. However, it was still not used in the sense of a state with well-defined territories. The Kurus, who were formed from the union between the major Vedic tribes, the Bharats and the Purus, are mentioned in texts as occupying the area in the upper portion of the Ganga Yamuna dome. Society, we have already read about the declining status of the Viz and the ascendancy of the Kshatriyas and the Brahmins. Society was composed of unequal groups. This hymn describes the origin of the four Varnas, that is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaisya and the Sudra, from the body of the universal creator Rajapati. The hymn of the primeval man comes from the later portion of the Rig Veda. Religion. The texts of this period indicate two different religious traditions, the Vedic, which is documented in the Sam and Yaj Veda, Samhitas and the Brahmins, and the non-Vedic or perhaps the folk tradition extensively documented in Atharva Veda. The fact that Atwan religious tradition was considered to be part of the Vedic suggests assimilation of different cultures and beliefs into the Vedic religious system. The Yajurveda, Samhita and Brahmins document the sacrificial religion of the period. Priestcraft. Later Vedic texts reveal the elaboration of rituals which were complicated and needed professional men trained in the art of performing them. Vidhis or rules for performing the sacrifices were formulated, and the Vedic sacrifices no longer meant simple offering of food or oblations to the fire. The types of sacrifices differed according to the needs of the patron or the yajman. Sacrifices were now endowed with mystical symbolism and every ritual act was endowed by mysterious power. The changing gods, two prominent early Vedic gods, Indra and Agni, lost their importance. Prajapati, the creator, became important. This phenomenon also represents the importance of sedentism now, since creation myths are important in the agrarian groups. Rudra, a minor deity in the Rig Veda, became important now, and Vishnu was conceived as the creator and protector of the universe. Pushan, who protected cattle in the former period, now became the god of the Shudras. Folk tradition. The Athar Veda is a mine of information regarding the folk tradition. Its contents are radically different from the Vedic sacrificial religion, and it is concerned more with magic. The contents of this Veda cover four different aspects of human life. The hymns deal with the cure for diseases, prayers for health, charms for the prosperity of home and children, cattle and fields, charms to produce harmony. That was all about religion and religious context. These are some of the questions. Write in 50 words the impact of iron technology had on later Vedic society, and what was the family in the later Vedic phase. Answer in about 50 words. That's all. Thank you. Happy learning. We learning.